Welcome to the first last of the Nerdom. I am Mike.
And
Uh,
I'm Tom.
yeah, and we are here. We stand on the precipice on the mountain that we have made, or the journey up, I should say. Maybe not made a mountain, but we definitely made the journey. And this is we're about ready to get into something that has been kind of a newfound love of all things, and it's very nice to have found new things that you can be excited about and share, which is something that inspired us to do the first last to come up with it. A joint venture here, and of course, what I'm talking about, Tom. You want to let the audience know what the hell I'm talking about?
Well, we're gonna get married. No,
He said yes.
no. No fairy tale romance here, but no, just two dudes enjoying Dune Part Two,
Yeah, no sword fighting.
and yeah, and yeah. So yeah, we had some meeting of the minds back a couple of years ago, a little
Yep.
over 2 years ago. We were both in the throes of COVID, being locked down, wanting to get out and maybe do something creative, but we were kind of shackled to our homesteads, and both. Unbeknownst to each other, we had watched Dune Part One and
Hmm.
really enjoyed it.
Yep.
And Mike came to me and said, "Hey, interested in a podcast?" And I was like, "Yeah,
Yep.
sure." And so our first show, even though our timeline doesn't reflect it because we did it on a different channel,
Yeah.
or but the Dune Part One was our very first conversation that we had as a podcast, and it turned out quite well, and we decided to keep doing it. So
Yes.
it's led us all the way to here, where if you compare this video with our very first one, it's almost night and day, but it's the same two
Fair.
dudes here talking about movies and comics and all that stuff. And so, yeah, it's sort of like a homecoming coming back to Dune Part Two.
Yeah, no, and that tees us up nice and squarely. We had been waiting, anticipating this to come out. Originally, it was supposed to come out last fall. They pushed it back. I'm not gonna lie. I was really feeling some kind of way, not great way, when they did that. And then it kind of like another day, and I thought about, well, you know what though, they must know something I don't, and obviously they know what they're doing, and I have to put trust in that. Because I came and flew into Dune Part One completely blind. I mean, I really did. I never read the books. Closer to the normie level than that. Obviously, super huge science fiction fan. Absolutely. That goes without saying. That's my bona fides here for part of the show that I love to pick up and throw occasionally in your backyard. But yeah, the Dune Part One came out. I saw the trailer, and I kind of remember seeing the trailer before, and I caught a hold of it like maybe 3 months ahead of time, maybe 2 months, something like that. And I was like, all right. I wasn't like in love with it or anything like that. I was just like, I want to see that. I don't know what that's about, and that's something new, and I had no clue. I had no idea why I did not pick up on it, but as it was, it was one of the only movies in 2021 that actually made really good profit on it. It made it enough to greenlight Denis Villeneuve to go ahead and work on part two. And it was a beautiful thing. Also loved it because my kids love they shared that with me, and it is always something special and awesome when you can share that with ones you love, whether they be your kids, your mom, your dad, your grandma, grandpa, uncle, aunt, whatever. All that, all the above, or friends, very dear, good friends. It's just fun to have community, kind of like how when Barbie was out, I really enjoyed that sense of community, or maybe community is too strong a word, but it's fun to share something that is wholesome and good with other people, like as a public kind of thing. So that happened with Barbie, with like the pink. Everybody was wearing pink or Barbie. It was awesome. That was an experience. I always encourage that. That's exactly the kind of thing. I don't know. I've never been, but my understanding is when you go to some of these conferences, sci-fi cons and different cons, like where you dress up as your favorite hero or character or whatever. It's something you share. It's an experience with people. Although I've never felt that, that resonates with me. So this is why this Dune thing is such a big deal, and this is why I'm taking a little bit longer than I normally would before I introduce our thumbnail, essentially. But yeah, this is part 2. It finally came out March 1st. I was very excited. We all kind of like as soon as I could, I wanted to make sure I got tickets. I didn't have a problem. I didn't have a problem with the seat that I wanted, although I picked an unusual time than I normally would have. Like picked an afternoon show because it'd be easier for the kids because we would be all tuckered out. And we spent the day. We watched Dune Part 1, and I actually shared that on our community page. So go check out that. Also, shout out to Tom's takedown of Conan. He did that not too long ago. I want to mention that while we're doing the plugging here before we get into the actual the actual thing here. But yeah, I'll just show. I'll make this a little bit wider. Apologize here. Make it a little bit more readable. But anyway, in case you've come across this, we want to thank you very much. We are fast approaching 500, which I never thought we would see for a long time. But thank you.
Yeah, this is the beginning of the year. We were praying for 100, and now we're approaching 500. So
Hey,
yeah, who knows? We might hit 1,000 by the end of the year. So it's not crazy to think
yep.
about it now.
God bless
yeah.
the almighty dollar. I'll put that way.
Yep. Yep.
So, but aside from that, like we also thank the
Uh-huh.
people that decided to hit that subscribe button. We thank you
Mhm.
very much. You
Yeah.
are who we do this for. Although our community is very much silent. Although we got massive a lot of feedback lately. We've been getting into a lot of extra things than we normally would on our more pedestrian shows. But so we're very thankful for that. And also, we'd love to hear your feedback, good or bad. Engagement is engagement. We will only know how to get better if we are told what maybe we could do better. I
Mhm.
don't know, but always open to hearing that kind of feedback. And
Yeah.
just go check out our show.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
appreciate my Mike's the more tech savvy as far as getting everything set up for the podcast, and my my little ventures into things are a little more DIY.
hey, all
But
good,
yeah, so
all good.
yeah,
It
and
works.
I know we've got some comments on the Conan ones, and some were constructive, and they were constructive. So they weren't like I think someone complained about the print quality of the magazine. I
I
meant
saw
to
that. Yeah.
yeah, I meant to say something about it, but as I was
Hmm.
paging through it on my review, I didn't think it was quite as bad as I was thinking it was, so I left it off the table. But yeah, there's a
Right.
couple of people. One said printing sucked, but and then another person was a little bit more constructive with their
Right.
criticism of the printing.
Sure.
But yeah, I appreciate everybody that commented, and yeah, and we've got quite a few thumbs up on it too. So I appreciate it. That tells me that maybe I did something right. But yeah, back to our mainstay, like Mike said. I think we were both kind of virgins to Dune,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak, when we came
Mm-hmm.
to it because we had not read Frank Herbert's Dune. But
We were
in that,
we
yeah,
were turbo virgins for sure. Absolutely.
correct.
When it came to that, I mean, I was for sure. I think you were a little bit more, you were a little bit more experienced than me. But nonetheless, it was a brand new world to us both, as far as the
Yeah,
scale and the epicness for sure.
yeah. My one of my older cousins, they tried to introduce me to it back when I was a teenager, and I wasn't quite ready for it. And then he unfortunately passed away way before his time. And so yeah, it was like something that it kind of kept him alive in my mind. The thought of reading Dune at one point, and then I didn't want to maybe read it and then lose him. But I think with this whole thing, it's more of a celebration, and it kind of keeps his spirit alive within me. Even after seeing the movies, it just was like maybe having them a little bit looking over my shoulder, seeing the movie maybe. But yeah, it was yeah, when we saw Dune. Originally, we hadn't read the books, and since
No.
then we have. I've read the Frank Herbert's books,
Mm-hmm.
and I think you went even deeper
Yep.
into the lore of
Yep.
the more expanded verse with his son
Yep.
Brian Herbert's
Yep.
take on it, and then So coming into Dune Part Two, we
Way
were
different.
yeah, we had drank the water, so to speak.
Yeah, and we're not counting, and I'm not even going to lie about this. Not only the hundreds of hours that I have invested in reading and rereading some of the books that caught my fancy, which I was going to do anyway. You have to understand that science fiction books for me are like a water to fish. It is just like that is when in between catching a movie series or a video game or whatever the hell it is. If I'm not watching YouTube or something like that, I will actually actively cut down my other media hours and exclusively either read a book or listen to the book, audiobook, a lot of that. But that not we're done. That's just one side. We're also talking about the other side of YouTube, where we both is our playground. I think that's fair to say. It's also I don't think we're unusual in that. I think that is a more common occurrence as time goes on, like to where you don't really give a shit about whatever's on Netflix per se, or Amazon Prime. You don't really care because you live and breathe in YouTube land, which is perfectly tailored to your, or maybe the younger kids, maybe it's TikTok for them, or it's Insta, whatever the hell it is. But the point being, hundreds of hours of video. I have no doubt that I've seen on fans. Nerd Cookies is one I've shouted out before. Great up and coming YouTube channel. She does awesome coverage, takedowns of that. Quinn's Ideas, also a fantastic site just for sci-fi, anything in general, especially book related. Epic takedowns, and then of course you have the normies that kind of swing in on it. I really don't pay attention to like what the chattering classes that I follow for general entertainment media news. I don't really follow their opinion on some things, if that makes sense. Because I don't, to be frank, I don't give a shit. And I don't, because I have a pretty well-rounded opinion of what I like for Dune. And I don't really do the criticism thing per se with that. But of course, um, Dune, it's been held positively by all aspects of the nerddom. I think that is safe to say, at the least. So you're right. I'm glad you teed that up because we were walking into this movie so much more charged up and well versed in the lore and the backstory, kind of like how this happened, how that happened. Um Not just that, but we've also watched we've gone back and watched the original Lynch Dune.
Mhm,
And I'll have that in the description here too. I'll have a playlist, maybe would be a better way to do that, for all of our previous Dune content,
mhm.
including a trailer. I think our trailer video got, I think it got a couple hundred views for sure.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
people are interested. Like now
right.
I'm not gonna. I personally will consume just about every other trailer that comes out because I love Dune. But I'm not gonna do a video for every single one. It's a little bit much for me. But God bless those who did, and of course who actually YouTube is their job. I don't know that I would ever want this to be my job per se, but unless the money was really good. But even then, but yeah, I digress here. Yeah, Dune Part Two. So I saw it on Friday, and you saw it today.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
I broke my long running stint of not going to the movies, much like I think Red Letter Media. They've bemoaned the state of theaters and not
right.
wanting to go out there into theaters. And I kind of shared the opinion. I was like, okay, when I had a tiny TV, sure, it made sense to go out and to the theater because wow. But now that you get a decent sized TV, you don't I don't feel like I'm missing out too much. But yeah, and I don't have to worry about. I could pause it whenever I want to, and I can have my bathroom breaks. But and then I don't have to worry about the guy behind me, you know, chewing their popcorn or whatnot. But yeah, I ventured out because yeah, I couldn't watch this at home, so I had to venture out into the big unknown and into the theaters. I went to
Right.
one of those big. It wasn't an IMAX, but it had the huge, close to a huge screen. Their best theater in the theater that I went to. It's called the RPX, Regal's RPX.
Oh, okay, Regal,
So yeah,
Regal,
yeah,
Regal.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, and yeah, it was. I didn't. I was kind of worried about people talking around me, but I really didn't have to because they cranked it up to 11 when I watched it, and I mean the
Oh
floor was
man.
the floor was shaking
Yep.
with the
Yep.
sound of everything.
That's funny that you say that.
The
Yeah.
bass of the music and the big machinery grinding around. So yeah, it was a bit of an experience. Yeah,
Yeah,
don't get that at home.
that's exactly what happened when we went. We saw the IMAX one.
Hmm.
And I'm not too sensitive to it. But in other movies, I have kind of like a can you turn down the bass just like maybe a few notches before like hell?
Hmm.
Because I can't feel or hear anything with that with the thing. But no, it was perfectly dialed in. It was like just below that threshold of like really being annoying or like being a thing to kind of focus on. But anyway, yeah, a bass teeth shattering or teeth shaking for sure. As it were.
Yep. Yep. And then I'm gonna crack open my
Boomer
boomer
juice.
juice. Yep. So I
Yeah,
got to get to the serious talk now. All right, so we queued up. We danced around this
yeah,
long enough. Well,
yeah.
let's
So
get
I think I would like to address some of the disconnects. I think because I have a little bit more nuanced take. First things first, I loved it. And my strongest praise for um talking about something would be to recommend to go see it. That is the
Mhm.
highest form of praise that I could ever give anything, really, when it comes down to it. Just to boil it down, not giving it a number score, not or whatever. But I connected with it. It connected with me. I was there, um, and just we were kind of talking about the thumbnail choice of whatever, and you mentioned something about like, well, the second thumbnail is very busy and at parts that there was I don't think that it was too busy. I think it was strange enough in proportion. But I didn't connect with some of the main characters as I thought I would have. Because again, going back to Dune Part 1, you are seeing flashbacks presumably of like his his ability to see into the future to be prescient, which is part of who his train, his this is Paul Atreides. He is the one essentially that is like this big self-strung up propaganda thing. They touch on that. They touch on some. They skated through a lot of stuff pretty quick. I will say that they skated through a lot of stuff. And then just the disconnect. I felt like and I don't know if you felt this or not, but I felt like with Chani, with Zendaya, I saw her, I heard her, but I kind of felt like it was like like kind of like a foregone conclusion. Like it just kind of seemed like when you get to a certain point, you just kind of are checked out. I guess I don't know. And there's a lot going on, and I definitely will go see it back a couple more times in the theater. But that's probably the only criticism that I could level at it, really was that I'm not saying she did a bad job. I just felt like it kind of like in the book it's and this is the measure of things in the book. There is a lot more closer relationship with Chani and Paul. Matter of fact, you get kind of a scene of life of like where they've been living together for years, months, years. So they have this thing going on. And because of the movie and how short it is, you didn't get any of that.
well,
And
yeah,
I
the
think that was the biggest detriment, the biggest gripe that I can grab onto and throw is the fact that like Channy's character in the movie is just way too. It's just there's no glue there. It's like a toupee. And like it just flew off and there's nothing there is nothing holding it there other than like you know, that's the only thing that I can say that's negative really. Everything else and I'm sure we'll get into it here, but that's just kind of like the one thing that I wanted to see and then I'll comment maybe in a little bit on why it brings us together and why it's so awesome that we have this thing. What are your thoughts or do you have did you have any thing to say, or things that you were looking out for that kind of like, now that you're a little bit more experienced veteran Dune Dune aficionado?
Well, I guess are we getting into spoilers at this point? Because
We are at the 20-minute mark. I would say let's go for maybe another 5 minutes. Or of course we can just say, if you just want to go for it, we can just say it. 20 minutes, guys.
well, I think
What do you
you
think?
said you loved it. I'd have to say I liked it.
Okay,
With the part one, I was overwhelmed with. There was a sense of overwhelming.
sure.
It's like I was immersed in that world, and I wanted more by the end of it.
Yep.
The sights, the sounds, the acting. It was everything it was perfect, a perfect storm of everything, and I loved it. And by the end of it, I was excited for the second one. And the second one, like we said, we're a little bit more informed into the world, and
Mm.
I built up. With the first one, I had no expectations. With this, I did have the expectations. So maybe that colors my opinion a little bit. I had a checklist of things that I wanted to see, maybe, and maybe I didn't get the. It's like going to the grocery store and not finding what you wanted,
Right.
and then it's like, okay. So now it's also today is my first viewing of it, and everything's fresh and raw. Maybe on hindsight, I maybe I'm critiquing things a little bit harsher than I
I
would,
don't.
but
I don't think
uh,
so. I think you're fine. I think you're fine. I have. I mean, I'm sure I'll uncover a few things more to say, but
well, here's my thoughts on it, and then it may get into spoilers, may not. But
sure.
you have the
Fair
first part.
warning.
Part one is, but yeah, I recommend seeing it. It's above average movie. Maybe
I
it's
think that's an easy win. Yeah,
yeah.
that's true. That's true.
And with a lot of part twos, like I said, there's expectations,
Mm,
but with the book is a hard thing to translate into film. I don't even know if you had a season worth of episodes to cover the whole series, whole book. You might kind of lose the focus that a
right.
book would have, and so a movie is maybe a better way to tell the story. But the crux that you have to deal with that's within the book is the part one takes you up to the point where um, you flash forward to 5 years, and the thing that the makers of this movie decided to do was, instead of flashing forward 5 years,
More like 5 months,
just the okay, we're
maybe a year, maybe a year.
no, not a year, because she's
Yeah.
still pregnant. It's it's within
Oh
her.
no, you're right. No, it was months. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
You're right. No,
so
that's true. Yeah, it was very much.
so they had to do
Yeah,
a lot of lifting, and they also had to create whole scenes that weren't in the book, and to make it work. And I think um and, and no one could be as good a writer as Frank Herbert, and they didn't have Frank Herbert there to help with maybe writing this. So
right.
it kind of pales in comparison to what Frank Herbert did. I think also there's a I think the one of the things that holds the book together is the
Mm.
love between Chani, or however you pronounce her name, and
Yeah,
Paul.
right.
The fact that they threw in this monkey wrench of doubt and mistrust,
It it it
it never develops
it
into the love that you wanted
it didn't
from the first part.
it didn't land for me at all.
No, no,
Just to be point blank, like it was very rushed and truncated. Again, it was just like, oh, we don't really need this part. Snip. What? What?
and
What? No. Yeah.
that's the heart and soul of it. And I think the mother, Paul's mother, is a much stronger character in this, and I
Oh
enjoy
yeah,
I
beautiful.
enjoyed that part.
Yeah,
It was much more reminiscent of the book,
yeah, no issues there.
but she I would think maybe that they didn't have enough of her. Maybe Stilgars, he plays out the way he did in the book. He's like a faithful for Paul. He's there for him to maybe to a fault he is.
Yeah.
And
A little bit rushed. Like him, like they get away with it. They do it. I'm just to if you want the answer up front, bottom line up front, they get away with it. That meaning that they did a good job. They did a good enough job. All right. Now I might have a little bit higher praise than Thomas, but they did it. They were able to do it, but there were sacrifices that were made, and some Dune. You have to remember, people. This might shock a little bit people, or I know how this. If I say this in the wrong circles or in the right circles, I guess for the normies, they would just be like, "Oh, bad. I'm not. I'm done." Like if you remind people that like part one and part two are still the first book, okay, we've got and you know like and there's still stuff there's still a lot to take in and go into, never mind that, but anyway, aside from that, yeah, I just wanted to mention that part.
yeah. Now the uh, I do like the things that didn't misstep were like the emperor and his daughter. I forget her name, but the princess. Her chronicling what's going on was a bit fascinating, but
It made
you
sense.
yeah, it made sense. And then the whole scene on Harkonnen with Feyd, and yeah, I I don't understand why. Maybe they were trying to make him more a likable character by not having him poison his blades, but I think that was an interesting point within the book. I don't know why they had to
Take it out.
jettison, yeah, jettison that part in it. But yeah, and then the uh, him and the Baron are a bit twisted in their predilection for things they like to torture. They changed that up a little bit in the movie,
Yeah, they made
but
them
they're the
generally
same.
more psychopathic, like to everyone in general,
Yeah,
instead of it being behind closed doors.
right, right. But yeah, I mean, so none of that was either here and there. I think with any translation that where you go from a book to a movie or a TV series, you're going to have sacrifices. You're going to have to
Yeah,
make. There's certain things that don't work on film as they would in a book. I mean,
right.
you know, there's a lot of inner dialogue that goes on in a book that you can't replicate easily in a movie. You have to do it through dialogue or or voiceover, and neither one of them work out too well. But yeah, so there's going to be some translation, but you want the heart and soul of the book to remain, and I think there's some things that they change in it that fundamentally change the heart and soul of the book
Mm.
within the movie. So there's the scenes that you're looking for, but the contexts have changed. Chani is no longer the 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 pillar that the pillar of Paul's the pillar for the Furman community, and that's built into his name Usul, which is stands for the pillar. And then, but she's the pillar for him. She was
Hmm.
the one that constantly supported him, and he looked to her for his support because
A
he
lot.
couldn't. Yeah, because he couldn't really look to his mother because there's always ulterior motives with his mother,
Bene
and
Gesserit,
so
right?
so she was that pillar there, and they took that pillar away from him. So there was there and I understand that they're trying to maybe give Zendaya something more to chew on as far as acting, and they introduced this group within the Furman that doubted Paul. There wasn't really that within the book. There wasn't that outspoken group that were against him, and then they quickly folded, even in the movie, folded towards him, except for Chani. She kept her skepticism for Paul, which is hard to understand if she truly loves him. What how could she
Well,
love
it,
someone something
she
that she doubts?
she would already believe in him anyway. And with the fact that labels, titles wouldn't matter. That's not how the book portrayed it at all.
Right.
She was, if he was the right hand, she was the left hand.
Right.
That's the best way to
And,
put it. Like they were
and
connected to one body, like in the book, the way it
right.
was written. So it just, that's why I just kind of like, I'm not, I mean, I'm not put off by it, but like, I just feel like they did so good teasing it in Dune Part 1, and you can just obviously when
Yeah.
you use the mind's eye, the theater of the mind, you kind of, you put your own kind of positives and negatives on that. But like when you get to see it, I don't
Well,
know. Like I mean,
and now at the end of the
just could
movie,
have been better. I
of
think.
course, Paul sets up a marriage of convenience between him and the princess to rule the empire, but that love was never going to be that relationship was never going to have love. His love for his would never be conquered by anything else. That love was integral, but I maybe they just didn't have a way. They didn't want to um, hinder or make that character, the Chani character, weak in the sense that I guess they felt like she wouldn't stand for that or
I
something.
I
Uh,
I do think that there were, and this movie was so far away from being woke or anti woke or any of that bullshit. I'm not even going to bring that into the picture. But I will say this: in the book, in the world that is Dune, it is accepted that that men have their wife, and then they have their concubine or multiple concubines, because essentially you're dealing with royalty. These people are caught above everybody else. This is the same world that also had slavery in it, and other brutal things, artifacts of old mankind, which didn't even touch on. So I could easily see like where maybe if they just don't even entertain it, maybe I don't damn
well,
bubble. I don't know what the hell that was, but anyway, my point is that I do think, and of course, if you cut it out, you don't have to account for it, right? So it's a very clever, smart way to not deal with things. And God knows, we didn't get fucking dog shares. Okay, okay, we didn't get, because the whole point is like there's a streak of anti-technology in this thing too, which is blows my mind because my sci-fi preference is like hard science fiction, hard militarism, whatever, wide scoping things, all crazy shit, all kinds of cool, awesome stories that you get exposed to,
yeah.
and you can't catch everything. I understand that, but like I don't really agree with like what they did with the Shane. I don't have any suggestions as to how they could have done it because I am not. We got what we got. But like maybe
Well,
there'll be a director's cut. I'm hoping like that will like maybe make me feel a little bit better. But like
I don't think so. And I don't think it's woke either. I mean, you got the Benny Gesserit. I mean, there's strong there's a strong
you
female presence. The powers.
absolutely like
There's
there.
the
I mean, with a
powers that.
vengeance, and that's in the book. This is like this was written in
Yeah.
1965. This is what I love about science fiction. Science fiction, classic science fiction tales that are unabridged. Okay, unabridged. They have no problems with any of this stuff. Any of this stuff. You want Ian M. Banks, and you want to talk about gender and sex and interplay between that. Go pick up any random friggin' culture novel for Ian and Banks, and you'll see that we don't need help with the with any of this stuff. Okay, we're smart people on our own. We can come to our own conclusions. We don't need to be told what's going on. And this movie did none of that. This movie, I would say, I heard that this movie was called a clinical. I don't really agree with that. I understand what they mean by that, meaning that like if you want to take the task, like all the other crappy piece of junk that we've had over the last 4 years, 5 years, none of those movies can equal this one as far as the cinematography, pacing, the plot, even the gripes that we have together. I mean, I think I'm a little bit more in love with it than you are, which is fine. But and I think your criticisms are very valid. And I my the thing is like when you open up your eyes to knowledge, and you read the books, you get exposed to the actual material. Damn, like you want to talk about probably one of the greatest science fiction tales. Like this is surpasses Tolkien in my opinion. In my opinion, if you want to talk about like the whole series of Dune as he wrote it, you'd be hard pressed to. I mean, it has its it has its wobbliness, like any series, but like I mean, it's up there with Tolkien in my opinion. It's up there with Asimov. It's up there with Heinlein. You just can't beat it. So you're gonna some things are gonna be on the cutting room floor that you're not gonna understand. Like I agree with you. I don't understand why Chani, like it kind of undercuts the whole point, and we are well within spoiler territory too. Might as well. But
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah,
I'll pause for a second, catch my breath, and I'll let you catch up here.
yeah.
Because I've been laying down some interesting points.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's yeah, by the end of the first movie, I was like, yeah, I'm ready for the second movie. By the end of the second movie, I was like, oh, maybe we don't need a third, because it ends with a woman scorned facing the desert, and you're like, okay, oh God, what does that mean for the third movie?
Yeah,
And the
yeah, I
way
didn't think
they
about that. Yeah,
the way they end it, they fundamentally changed the second book. They you can't do that. I mean, they've got the framework for all of Dune within these two movies, but
you
they've fundamentally changed some of the characters to the point where they can't do what was done in the Dune Messiah. So
right.
it kind of, it'll be interesting to see what they do with a third movie if they choose to make it, but it's not going to be Frank Herbert's Doom Messiah. It's going to be
No,
Denis Villeneuve's,
I
and I wasn't very this movie's good in the sense that if you haven't read the book, I don't obviously our criticisms aren't going to hold weight in the sense that the truth are these two movies and not the book. So I recommend if you haven't read the book, go ahead and read the book and see which one you like better. But a bit, if you've seen these two and that's the movies and that's all you've seen and
right,
you really enjoy it, I can't say because I didn't see the second movie without tainted eyes, so to speak,
sure,
without having read the book. So
right.
I think it holds up in the sense of the characters don't do anything outside of what was built into the characters within the two movies. There's a internal logic
There's an
within the book.
arc,
Yeah.
right? There,
Also, I
there's
will point out there are a couple of scenes that were played seriously that and plays serious, but they're almost comical in how serious they are. And then I didn't get any of that in the first movie. All of it
right.
worked beautifully, but in this movie, sometimes it got so serious, and it wasn't. I don't think with the way the story was told, it had deserved that moment. So I
Mm.
almost chuckled at a couple of times when it was supposed to be serious and it wasn't for me. So again, it could be me, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think even if you didn't like this, and you're like a staunch, you don't like it for whatever reason, whatever that is. Absolutely, there are people out there who probably hate this. Maybe I don't know, but for sure, the one thing I will say that is factual statement: if it's true that Dune Part One inspired you and me, okay, to go read the book, what high? It is also true that a normie maybe they need a couple shots of this before they give a crap to pick up the book and read it. That will absolutely happen with people with Dune Part 2. Both of the book, I think that is fair to say and very true. Even though I can't claim that, we are here because of this. Our lives are better for understanding and reading the book Dune and all that. But anything, even if you hated it, at least you have to admit that anything that can cause a person to go back and go search out the original material and go read it is something unique and special. I don't think anybody would argue with me on that point. So even if you didn't like it, but yeah, I mean, as far as the ending goes, I guess what I would say would be, I was very much like, I can't wait. When is the natural question is, in the highest praise that my kids can give anything, is my daughter said, "Hey, when is Dune Part 3 gonna be out?" So, the fact that that has captured her imagination and my son was on the same page, and most of me was on the same page too, but I will say this, I think that, if it takes them 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, I'm kind of okay with that. Like, I don't need to go right back into this right away, because I don't quite know where they're going with this. And we're I think they nailed this the sophomore album, so to speak. And then going into part three, I think that they're in very good territory. But at some point, you're juggling, you got everything going, and then something happens, and then kind of like things fall down to the floor. But I don't think that's gonna. I have no idea, but I did read a little bit that Villeneuve said that he wanted to take a break, essentially. Like, he didn't want to he wanted to do something in between this and part three. I don't think it's any question that there's going to be a part three. I think that where they go with it, I don't know. Um, we'll see. I think that if HBO has another show in the wings and they're going to do anything, and they're going to do anything that has to do with the words modern and audience, they need to not do that. Don't do that. Do not do not drag this thing down. And I know the clock is ticking, because I will say one thing too that I really liked about this, that it gave me satisfaction wise, is that and a little bit of a gripe to pick. But when I grew up with Star Wars, I was always like really fascinated by, what did Luke Skywalker do, right? Um, give me the thing, give me Luke Skywalker in his prime, which you never did. You baited me and you lied to me. But that's a different issue, and we've covered that ad nauseum on the side. And that's a me thing. But this gave me something that I never
show
got from
show.
Star Wars
Uh,
at all. Like, as
uh,
far as like now or later or whatever. Now, I did get my Luke Skywalker fix in the expanded universe, which they retired in 2015, I think. But so all those books went kaput, and we all know that those are infinitely better than anything going forward from like maybe Mando season 1 on. I would argue that the expanded universe, even the shittiest Jedi trilogy or Jedi Academy novels that were definitely YA, are infinitely better than the garbage heaps that we got, in my semi-professional opinion, as a nerd critic, I guess. I'll let you talk here.
I was going to pull out the Millennium Falcon and say, Mike, show me where Star Wars hurt you on the Millennium Falcon.
Not where Star Wars hurt me, it's where Disney hurt me. They punched me right in the and I'm not the only one that they punch in the heart. Actually, it would be a better than to be base and say the balls. But they punched everybody. They gave every true Star Wars fan a punch in the heart, as it were. And I don't want this to be like comparing that, but you know what? It's fair game, because when there is a great, again, this goes back to my roots, which is science fiction. I love very dearly. Anything that is new, whether it's a show, a movie, or whatever, especially a movie, when it's done to this big of scale, it is something to be happy in. Like, so I was happy to see that there was actually a good story there, a good character, something of quality. Good God. We finally got something of quality. And this has nothing to do with Barbie or Oppenheimer. It's its own thing. And I love that. I don't think it's going to be a shame to say that this is going to be, I hope it makes as much money as possible. I don't know about you, but and then I think I'll give it about 2 or 3 minutes, and then I'll pull in my thing that I got, and I'll kind of talk about, we'll f- I will devolve into a fanboy of Dune, which I already am. But anyway,
The other thing I was kind of I I don't know. The whole thing. I don't normally like desert themed things that take place in the desert. It's I like to see something visually exciting, and seeing a bunch of stuff on sand
Mm.
isn't always. I think that's one of the challenges the movie had to face was that bland setting of sand. And I think their way of doing it, and doing the sieges or whatever, the places where the Furmen stay. They went more basic with it than what my imagination had kind of created with the books and whatnot. So they weren't. It wasn't as visually exciting as part one. Part one was a blast of
It,
images and varied things, and this movie it was more of the same of what we saw in the first movie. And there wasn't. And I was thinking, they kept, the big thing was them going to the south, and I knew in the book, I mean, the South was like an oasis. They had greenery and some vibrant things there, and when they went, it was just more of the same again. And I was like, there was like they had the big meeting of the Furman, and it was this really dark kind of chamber with all these people, but the way they lit it and how they did it, it really just looked like a group of a small group of people.
they,
They really
they
could have learned from the Dragon Slayer movie, where they had that big group setting, and they did forced
yeah,
perspective,
I agree with that.
and got a you had a sense of presence, even though
It
they said that scene, it was a very small set.
it
Whereas this, they had the money. Why didn't you make it
well,
impressive?
I'm gonna be honest with you. It got really confusing at a couple points for me, even though I was paying attention. It's not like I
Hmm.
was dumb or anything, but like they do a little bit too quick in and out with some of them scenes of like wait, hold on, where the hell am I at again, or where the hell are they at, or where am I supposed to be in this? There's a little bit of confusion, but I let it go because um, look, they're not going to nail everything in the book the way
Hmm.
that I want them to, or whatever. Which is it is what it is. Like I get it, but like
Hmm.
um, I hope that they make something extra to this, even if it's a stupid artwork book. I'm looking here in a minute, and I might bring out here momentarily, but
Right.
yeah, I really enjoyed it. I probably got a little bit more bounce from it because I my kiddos and I were looking to it. The only other movie that we're
Hmm.
looking forward to is the Despicable Me series, Minion series, which is coming out in July 3rd, I think. I looked up. That's the other movie that we're gonna go see as a family. It's kind of funny how it used to be kind of very trivial to go to the movie, and nowadays with the cost of gas, maybe not now, but gas is a thing like every 6 months or a few years or whatever it is, I guess.
Hmm.
But the movie prices, if you want to eat dinner at a theater and you're talking three people or four people, that's
Hmm.
$100. That's $75. And we're not even talking about getting candy or whatever. We're just talking about getting a meal there. If you don't eat or you want to partake in that, which is fine. It is what it is. You pay for what you get. And if it's like once every 6 months, I'm okay with that because well, you've made it as expensive as going to the ballpark, and buying a $10 beer.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, I kind of joke, but it's closer to that number than not, which is kind of annoying. But
Yeah.
putting that aside, um, it it landed for me. I enjoyed it. I
Yeah.
again, the strongest prize I can say is go see it. Make up your own mind. I don't think you'll be disappointed, and better yet, well, actually, this is an interesting question. Like, suppose you saw this out of order. Do you think that that would change things at all for a normie, for a fan out there, or even for a nerd?
What do you mean? If they
You saw this one
after
first, and then you went back and saw saw part one.
you'd be very, very confused.
I would imagine.
I wouldn't recommend it. But but yeah, the also I think some of the, at least with the first one, the action I followed all the way through. On like this one, there is some confusion, and even the fight scene between Paul and Fayed. I mean, the actors were really acting it up, but that final um, knife thrust. It was supposed to be a surprise, but the way they shot it, it was so murky, and you really couldn't see what was going on. It was like it wasn't a surprise. It was like, oh, that happened. Oh, okay. They could have choreographed that much better, I think. But I did like the fact that they didn't overhype the action like they would in a Marvel movie. It was much more realistic, and I know I've kind of ragged on the movie this whole time, but I will say some of the positives. You had a killer soundtrack. That I love the movie. I think I probably enjoyed the music a little bit better with the Hans Zimmer score in the first movie as opposed to this movie, but you had more of the same, which was high quality. The like Mike said, the special effects in this movie were pretty phenomenal. The again, what you got to see of the outfits and the whole world building that I got to see in this movie was pretty outside of what was on Arrakis. All the other planets were interesting. I liked how the Harkonnens, their natural light kind of bleeds color from it, so that it becomes black and white.
Yeah,
That was
IR.
it.
They filmed that in a special technique. I don't have all the details, but I know that they did IRs filter or
Hmm.
something like that.
And I think I
So
read
kudos to
where,
them.
yeah, yeah.
Dynamic. That's Villeneuve at his best.
Hmm.
Inventing new ways to do things, or maybe taking an old way and whatever. But go on. Sorry.
But yeah, so yeah, that was creative. I enjoyed that, and there is yeah, the acting overall was good. I definitely missed Oscar Isaac from the first movie.
Yeah,
It was his presence was
and Jason
way
Momoa too. A little
yeah,
bit.
yeah, right. And then Josh Brolin comes back as Gurney, and he actually got to play his little instrument that that was very present in the books. And
Nod to the books. Yeah.
yep, yep. And I almost wish that they had kept the pug from the first from Lynch's movie, but but yeah, it was. But Josh didn't have a. He was a presence in the second half, but I wish he was more of a presence. There was, but I don't know how much you could have done with that. But yeah, it was good overall. If I hadn't had the book in my head, I might have liked it much better. But yeah, it's a hard to compete with Frank Herbert, I think.
Yeah, and
And
I was
if you're going to rewrite the book, um, you better better you come up, and your game has to be pretty strong to compete with Frank Herbert. And I don't think they quite match what Herbert was able to do. But I think I think they did a better job of completing the story than the people that did Game of Thrones. I will say
Oh
that.
god, it's not even close. Yeah, and with that being said, I think I had showed you, and I don't think I did a community post, but um I got the like a coffee table book. I'm old school like that. Like to have like a coffee table. And this one was the Dune. I think I showed this before, but the Dune part one, the photography. And I ordered that on Amazon.
You could probably make yourself the big boy on the screen.
Oh yeah. I guess I could. Yeah, but thank you. Thank you. You
Oh, hey, it's me. You gotta be, yeah.
Batman. No, Batman. Yeah, yeah. So I did. Before I open it and cut myself with the knife here. With the what was that? With the he did that shit or whatever
Mhm.
with the fucking knife with his little battle
Don't
thing.
chip
Dune.
the blade. Yeah.
Yeah. May your blade chip and shatter, whatever. The art and soul of Dune, part two. Ironically, hilariously, this came literally like 20 minutes before I turn the turn everything on, and it was like right on time. But I am not gonna. I know my limits here. I am not gonna fuck with a fixed blade knife and and try to open up the cellophane here. I'll put that off to the side, but I'm very, of course, the kitty cat. That's what she thinks, but she's a sweetheart. She can go wherever the hell she wants because she's a kitty cat. But yeah, no, that was just kind of a special treat, and maybe I can post some pictures. Um, excuse me, on the
Yep.
thing.
and you can maybe even do like a video of your review of it, like I did with
Even
Conan.
even better, even better. Yeah.
And
And
to circle back to Conan and also Dune, last week there was a bunch of things that I had anticipated, highly anticipated, that came out, and one of them was, of course, Dune Part Two. I was highly anticipated that the Titan comics doing Savage Sword of Conan and doing it the way it should be done. Came out,
proper.
and in the video game realm, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth came out, Part Two, in the remake
Are
of
you
Final Seven.
are you in that? Are you in that? Are you playing that?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah,
How, yeah. Late on us. What are your
yeah. So yeah, it was kind of interesting that the big theory things that I was highly anticipating were remakes or uh, remakes of things that were from the past that
Yeah.
were being reintroduced, and and doing it right, and kind of embracing what's good about the old stuff, and making it new. Yeah, I really enjoyed the first part one. In fact, the first part of Final Fantasy VII remake came out early in during the lockdown with COVID. That game gave me a lot of good times for playing it, and then Dune Part Two or Part One came out during that time as well. So it was like a revisiting
Oh,
what
that's funny.
what I had experienced previously, and kind of re-embracing those things, and maybe I haven't gotten the game's like 60-hour game, so I hadn't barely chipped the surface of that, but yeah, I'm going to be enjoying that. So yep.
Awesome. Yeah. I have been speaking of video games, I've been doing a lot more video gaming than I normally would. And that was with Helldivers too.
Hmm.
And it's very cool. It's just very cool to I think I can play a little bit. I'm gonna play a little bit while we're talking here. Make it a little bit more calm. I'll just let the thing play.
Hmm.
I'll turn off the thing. I'll just let it play there in the corner. That's the volume's turned down. But anyway, if you getting into Helldiver 2, finally got a capture card, which is why I can do that. And I kind of actually wanted to do that to just kind of see how the quality levels were. Trying to figure out the sound because good God, I'm a boomer with this stuff. And God bless you too for getting me the thing. But been playing a lot of that. I think we both want to play that eventually.
Hmm.
And but that and then I want to revisit. I want to revisit another game. The Invincible. I need to finish playing that, but I was going to do like a maybe like a record a let's play through and kind of expand our thing. I also
Hmm.
have good news about the channel in general. Um, while 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 I'm distracted here by the game here. Um, we found a hosting platform, and it's just a matter of time for me to lay the groundwork and throw a few schmeckles to the provider's way, and then turn it back on and do some technical bullshit on the back end, and then I think we'll be up and running. And then we'll slowly start to back in and rebuild our website. As I've been alluding to for literally months now, since the end of last year, but it just takes a lot of time. And this is a labor of love. Maybe one day, when we are in the astronomical heights of 10K subscribers, then maybe we might bring out the alms for the poor, Monty Python thing, and beg the audience for money. But we're not quite there yet. I think we have to earn it. Just to be frank, and I think we are. I think we're well on our way. Anyway, I'll put it that way. But Dune Part Two, I really loved it. And I wanted to love it. I'm not gonna lie. This was an easy win for me. Um, I wasn't really nervous about how it could have gone, because you kind of can unplug and be like, well, I don't. Well, I've been disappointed before. Like, I guess that science fiction franchise is going to go nowhere. Because God knows I've liked a lot of obscure things over the years that normal people just don't care about.
Hmm.
I remember liking Fringe when nobody cared about Fringe, also which I want to do a rewatch maybe with you or a series at some point, which was the Jim Henson one. Was on Farscape. That's what. Have you seen Farscape?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, okay, then we'd be on the same page. We'd be
Yeah, there's in fact there's a Boom Studios comic book. They're doing a comic book Kickstarter for Farscape, that comic book series written by the creator of the show. So
that is
that
cool.
my younger sister is a huge fan of Farscape, so I tipped her off on that. So
Awesome.
on the comic book, but she tipped me off on the series. So then there's the giving back, giving give
Give it a take.
yeah, giving a take. But yeah, so yeah, I wanted to love part two. I ended up liking it instead. So, but yeah, I mean, it's all a part of when you come with a part one and a part two of anything, you're either gonna it's either going to fulfill your hits your sweet spot or it doesn't, and it kind of hit off to the side of the sweet spot. So it's it's a tad bit disappointing to me, but I think again I think if you go in this fresh and don't have any preconceived ideas as far as having the book in your head, you'll probably enjoy it more. So because you won't have that competing with you. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is, and like I said, on further viewings of it, I have the 4K of part one on a 4K disc, so I'm sure I'll get the 4K of part two, and maybe seeing them back to back, I'll have differing opinions. I have changed my mind. I When I first saw the Big Lebowski, I thought was just an okay movie. Gasp, and then on future viewings,
That was amazing.
it's become one of my favorite movies of all time. So so yeah, it's things can change.
Well,
So
look, man,
opinions
that's
can
just
change.
like your opinion, man.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, I will say too, I was happy to see some of the technological things that you read in the books. That and there's very few, but they nailed them
Mhm,
pretty well. The suspensors kind of thing. The
mhm,
only thing I heard that was cut from part one was an orbital insertion of Jason Momoa's character
mhm,
into Arrakis. That would have been amazing if they would have kept that, and maybe who knows? Florence Pugh was really good. I actually think this might be sacrilege. I actually think she did a better job of playing her character than Zendaya did for Chani, if I'm honest. Um,
well,
and and
it's
that's not
yeah.
saying that Zendaya sucked. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that like the full potential of the character was not there and not achieved is all I'm saying from the book
Yeah,
perspective.
you're a Florence Pug stan. I see. No, uh,
No, I am. I like her. I think she did a damn good job. This has nothing to do with Oppenheimer, and maybe we'll review it one day, but or recommend. I do recommend it anyway. I thought she did a very good job, especially for the short amount of time. Parental discretion advised. But aside from that, I think she did a very good. Yeah, I agree with
and
you.
of course, her best role to date is obviously Black Widow, but no, no. Of course, it would be Midsummer, in my opinion. But
Yeah, no, this is again, she has amazing talent.
yeah.
And I gravitate naturally towards strong performers in general.
Hmm.
I adore them.
Hmm.
Feyd-Rautha, is he did Austin Butler did a amazing job. Like, and I want to say Timothy Chalamet, he did, he went from like young, green, wet behind the ears kind of, boy, I would say, to man. And he hit that. Damn, if he didn't hit this Darth Vader stride by the end of the movie, he sure as hell looks like it, in my opinion. He looks more older. I will say, I wish the timeline would have been expanded quite a bit than what we got in the movie compared to the book,
Hmm.
because the book was like a decade. It was years. It was like,
No, it's 5 years. Yeah,
oh,
half
excuse me. Yeah,
decade.
you're
Yeah.
right. You're right. Not a decade, but it's years. So a lot
Hmm.
happens, and from here to there.
Hmm.
And I will say that if they would have done that, I would absolutely believe that Timothy Chalamet could have carried that movie as well, is what I'm saying. Um,
Yeah, I think you could digitally age him a little bit for 5 years, but
well, even
yeah,
the dirt and grit and just there's a difference, like when you're in battle and you're a warrior and you've been fighting constantly for months and months and months and years and yada yada, and he really does become part of the Fremen. And I think they nailed that for the most part. I think so. I didn't understand the Chani negative kind of counterbalance to it. I didn't understand that. I really didn't. I agree
it,
with you there.
it,
It didn't make sense.
yeah, even not being a even if you're not had read the book, you get a sense that yeah, they're that whole relationship wasn't well thought out. I think in this movie, I think they wanted to give her some, I guess, a little bit more of a backbone. Maybe they felt she didn't have a backbone in in the book, but I think she did. I think if you did it right, you could have done it right. But they chose a different direction for that character, and I think she
Right.
suffers for it. I think Austin Butler does a fantastic job as Feyd. In it's certain people you could shave their head and they could kind of become a whole different person. You don't really see the Elvis in him, although he does have a little
Mhm.
bit of an Elvis swagger to himself in this movie. That really adds because you get that sense from reading the book, and
Well,
there's sort of a rock star attitude to him,
mhm.
even in the book. And I think it was smart to you know. Having played as by Sting in the David Lynch movie, and then Austin Butler does a fantastic job in this. I think the only thing that there's something to be said for a character that you want more of.
Mhm.
You said that you say hey you just didn't get enough of that
You
character
did
in
want more of him,
yeah
and yeah, go ahead, sorry.
but yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is yeah, you wanted more of that character, and that's a testament to the power of the character and the actor that portrays them.
Yeah, I will say, now that we're kind of in the nitty-gritty, Austin Butler does, again, I already praised him, but I will say this, we're missing Piter, and the Mentat. We completely gloss over and lose track of the Mentats. They had nothing to do with any of this. In the second part,
Right,
that
right,
was a
yeah,
missed opportunity. That's one. And then the other
mhm.
thing too is,
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's a huge part
oh,
that is.
huge part,
Mhm,
and how Piter is kind of playing this very twisted political Machiavelli, even a Machiavellian's Machiavellian game, like whereby he kind of sort of ends up, spoiler warning, helps kind of sort of the Atreides, kind of
mhm,
it's complicated. You got to go read the book to understand the nuance of what I just said.
right,
And
yeah,
even then I don't do it justice at all, and I don't pretend to, but Leia Seydoux, she played, I want to highlight this too, which is another missed opportunity. Although I'm happy that we got to see Lady Margot Fenring,
mhm,
she plays a substantial part. As a, see, this is the thing, like where there is no such thing as a small role in the book Dune or the series Dune, because your small, minor, seemingly throwaway characters come back later on,
mhm,
as a kind of a teaser for if you choose to take the entire journey of Dune. Um,
mhm,
Fenring plays a very pivotal role in Herbert's books, also in Frank's books. Um, Again, this is something that was like I was happy to see her, and essentially like how it played out was like one of many times that scene played out, the way that it was described, and Herbert goes into Brian Herbert goes into it and does it very good justice in my opinion. I just wanted to kind of call that after I saw this picture. She does a very good job of the very limited. Again, these are all kind of parts and scenes that are like make you wish for more. I think the missed opportunity though was Zendaya for me. And I just didn't like when they were passionate. You're supposed to like get something. You're supposed to like be drawn in and like kind of like become fans for rooting. You're supposed to have like the office effect, so to speak, and be automatic default fans of Pam and Jim. You know that kind of scenario. If that makes sense, like there's like a certain kind of romantic story that draws you in, whether you like it or not.
mhm.
I didn't feel that with this version of what happened. Like this should have been. It was a missed opportunity. I'll leave it there. But yeah, they also missed opportunity. The whole point of the smugglers, and the whole fact that it's not just Fremen and the Harkonnen and the Atreides on Arrakis. It's much wider than that. There's slavers. There's the Fremen, how they came to be. That whole thing, like what there's, maybe I'm asking for too much, but
Yeah.
again, that was kind of like the audience is going to know what the fuck is going on. To be frank, with Stilgar and like, why is wait, hold on. I thought the Harkonnen were the ones that were doing the spice harvesting, and then you kind of see the Atreides machine come down, and like it's very. I understand what they were doing, but the normie they're not going to know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, they
um,
kind of explain it in
we
a couple of dialogue scenes
kind of
that you
fucking
can
jump over it real
kind of
quick. Yeah.
yeah, you kind of miss it. But yeah, the, we're both in the one of the Dune forums on Facebook. Those boards can be interesting. I saw when the what someone was talking about asking what lady the Paul's mother had written on her face, and I think they all agreed it was something about it was the thing about the fear is the mind killer. But
Oh.
someone posted a comment that made me chuckle, and I thought was funny, and I'm going to steal it and say it here. He said, "If you can read this, you're too fucking close."
I like it. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
need to go back to that forum, but like I had to chill out because like the first year that we were in that forum, it was amazing. It reminded me of old school internet, like where you go to a forum or group or whatever, and you just kind of make instant friends. I if that makes sense. You're all kind of the same mind and fandom, and then like the like running up to this, like I kind of had to tune it out a little bit because everybody would be like, it was the I don't like this group because of whatever, or it's not an airport. You don't have to announce when you're leaving. I don't care. Nobody cares.
Yeah,
But
there's a lot of yeah snarkiness in the group, which sometimes I appreciate, sometimes I don't. But yeah, it is what it is. I think I'm in some much more nicer groups. But
yeah, you're in the smarter
the
groups than I
the
am.
the bitter honesty in the dude group is sometimes fascinating. Yeah, they it's a very mixed bag on how they feel about the movie. Some of them love it, of course, and some of them don't like it. I think the ones that are much more harder on Frank Herbert fans are a bit more disappointed, like I am with it,
Mm.
because they're seeing what it's not holding faithfully to the book, and I understand that criticism, and I understand their dislike for the movie for that factor.
Yeah, I again kind of just seeing these stills of Chalamet. Um, yeah, it sells it for me, and I do. Yeah, there was a kind of a there's a hit the gas pedal kind of feeling. And it worked. It worked. But that is kind of like there's like a lot of build up there too of Stellan Skarsgård playing the Baron. And it was kind of interesting how it kind of came out, I guess. But if anything, take my criticism to mean that it was just enthusiasm to see more, especially how he would, how put it on the big screen. I'm not going to complain too much
Okay.
about it, but the best thing I can say is go see the first one. Um, I think it really is essential, and it does very well. I am kind of nervous when we talk about part three. What does that look like? That
I'm not excited about it. I'm definitely not.
well,
But
because that
we'll
technically is
see.
book two.
Yeah.
And then you really don't get anywhere until Messiah or whatever. But that's a
Yeah.
different,
Yeah.
and then your children of there's just a lot more
Well,
to
yeah.
to to
I think
talk about. This is only the first book.
yeah, yeah. And another thing is, I think universally, a lot of people don't like Dune Messiah, the second book. So I think
Yep.
there's a willingness, there's a maybe a willingness from the fans even for Villeneuve to do something different. However, Dune Two,
Maybe he
book
could.
book two, Dune Messiah is one of my favorite books. So if you butcher that one, you're gonna leave me a little bit cold. But that's I'm only one person. I'm only one fan. So hey, not everything's for me. So I can't I can whine and complain on the internet, but who really listens except for my fans out there that listen to me. But no,
Well, I
but
listen for
anyway.
sure.
Right. But yeah, I mean, it is like I think I'm starting to sound like a broken record. But yeah, I mean, I I like it, but I do have my issues with it, and I think there's some fundamental issues with the movie, but nothing that will keep someone from enjoying the movie
Mm-mm.
if they're so inclined. Like I say, everybody has their opinion. This is one of those movies. I've loved all of Villeneuve's movies so far
Right.
that I've seen. This is the only one that's didn't quite hit the mark for me, and it's a bit disappointing. But it's there's always the next movie.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes. I do. I am obviously a big fan. I think that this might be too high praise for some, but I'm going to say it anyway. And this is not my original thoughts, but I heard something like where, with Dune one and Dune Part One and Dune Part Two, it unquestionably puts Villeneuve in the same stratosphere as a Nolan, or as a Ridley Scott. I think that's fair. I don't think that's sacrifice praise. I think that is very well earned. And considering the fact that Hollywood is what it is today, um, maybe this is a weighted handicap list, a fantasy team, or whatever you want to call it. But you know what? Every era is different, and we are the beneficiary of Villeneuve, and I look very much forward to seeing the rumor mill. I haven't checked on it. I guess I could now, but I won't. But just kind of going off of like what I've heard, is rumor mill that he might be doing a rendezvous with Rama, and if he does, I would absolutely show up for that. That is an amazing story, and it would take a very not anybody could do that, is what I'm saying. And he did a really good job on this one. I think he stuck the landing. You know what? But go out and see for yourself if you like it. And as always,
Mhm.
as we're kind of rolling up here on the caboose, this is the Tom heads up our Twitter division. So holler at him, say hi if you're on Twitter, whatever the hell they call it. And as
Mhm.
always, you'll always be able to find us on our YouTube channel. And one day, this little link here for our website will work again. I promise. Um, go check out our ever growing back catalog. This is the part of the show like where I say, if you want a front row ticket to see our stuff, our front row seat, the best way to do that is to subscribe. And I don't think you'll be disappointed. Maybe this isn't your cup of tea, but go check out our back catalog. I promise you, including our live tab. We're starting. We only have two very honorable shorts, and there will be more. But we're sitting at 500, almost 500. If we get 500, maybe we'll have to do like a let's play or something. I don't know. I think
Yep.
the game plan is to get you and me in the same virtual lobby and play Helldivers 2. And I think maybe this weekend we can make that happen. Next weekend coming up.
Yep.
But as always, stay tuned. We might have some really cool stuff headed your way. Um,
Yeah,
whether it's
and shout out to Chris Miles in our last video where we talk about VHS collecting. He has a little shop of 80s merch that you can check out in the video, and we have a link there. But yeah, that video did pretty decent. And then I'm doing my series of reviews of the Book of the Malazan, Book of the Fallen. On the final book, I hit the halfway point, so in a couple more weeks or so, I'll get my wrap up for the whole series. But yeah, I finally understand with the book number 10 why it's called Malazan Book of the Fallen. So yeah, he kind of paces out all the little bits of secrets along the way. But yeah, enough of that. Yeah, so yeah, you got to hear us yatter on for a little over an hour about our opinions on Dune Part Two. Now it's your part to comment in our comment section on what you think we got right, what we got wrong, and maybe your opinion of the movie. But yeah, we look forward to your comments.
Yeah, and
We
I did.
read and like every one of them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, we do. Yeah, and I did want to say I saved this for the very final part of the show. To me, what Dune 2 also means is that I wrote my notes that it was a nexus of nerddom, meaning that because different sci-fi franchises have come and gone, they've all begged, borrowed, or stolen from different things, and to different effect. But every major faction of the geek kingdom it comes to it, and they bring their own small bag of appreciation for where and what it reminds them of. And above all, it allows for these fans, old and new, in my opinion, to experience a very badly needed fresh take for the genre that is science fiction. It has saved it and preserves it for as it should be. Past sci-fi series have come close. I'm talking like in the last half decade or decade, but they don't quite remain around. They just remain too small. This is something completely opposite. It achieved a very grand scale, and the parts 1 and 2 and weaving that story. The original Dune, again, I kind of touched on this a little bit in between our talking, but largely came in as a dark horse, like as something unless you were a hardcore fan and you knew it came. The fact that it triumphed as much as it did, um, in the environment that it came out with COVID and all that other bullshit, is an uncompromising testimonial to the mastery of Dene. Is the highest praise I can give. Obviously, I'm a fan, but that's kind of like the highest thing I want to say is that it invites you as a fan to come in. It invites you to sit down, stay a while, see how you
Yeah,
feel.
yeah,
You will get even if even if you don't care about Star Wars, Star Trek, the typical top 10, whatever that everybody talks about. I guarantee you, Dune has something for you in this world, and that's the cool part about it. Just like Star Wars back in the day, it rung everybody's bell. Am I saying it's as big and powerful as Star Wars? Well, yeah, in its own way. I mean, what that looks like in 2024, for a kind of an offbeat studio that's kind of been hammered a little bit, but
yeah.
that's kind of used to second place. I think that second place kind of thing, kind of it is what it is for Warner Brothers. But
Well,
I digress.
I don't.
It
Well,
works.
I don't think they're second place right now because they're the ones.
No,
They're the
not at
ones.
all.
They're the ones that are showing what streaming can do.
Yep.
They've been highly criticized for their changes in what they did. They've kind of streamlined stuff, and they showed that they could turn a profit last year in streaming, which a lot of them
Right.
are struggling to do. And Warner
Everybody,
Brothers
Netflix.
showed them
Yep.
how to do it. But I don't really get into like numbers and all that stuff. That doesn't. I think a lot of fans are going lean more towards that. It's like, okay, well, my particular franchise of choice that does this, they're this big, and
Mhm.
I as it becomes yeah, how big is your thing, so to speak. But yeah, I think you really should just love what you love and don't worry about whether or not it has a huge fandom or
Right.
not. I think in fact even the smaller fandoms are even more um, family. There's much more of a cohesion there. But also,
Kinship. Yep.
yeah, also with Dune and Lord of the Rings, and those are like the hearthstones of the genre that everything kind of builds from. And I think it's real important. You as a fan out there that enjoys movies and maybe came to us to watch this for me to impart on you the joy of reading and finding those particular hearthstones. A lot of those, took decades before this Dune book got a really good adaptation that even came a little bit close to the book, or where Lord of the Rings got a pretty good adaptation as well, and they become like these hallmarks of movies because they're based off of fundamentally great books, and there's so many more great books out there that haven't been made into a movie,
Mm,
that may
right.
never be made out into the movie,
Yep.
and you're harming yourself in your imagination if you're not seeking out those things. You know what you love. Uh, Go out and find those books. I mean, sometimes it can be intimidating. The vast majority of those books, maybe start with the things that you liked, and maybe read the book of Dune, and maybe that'll build you, and you can start seeing what other fans enjoy as far as books that are similar, and you'll find a whole
It,
wealth of things to enjoy,
it
and have that captures your imagination
yeah,
and adds to it.
yeah. The only other thing I'll add, and then we can wrap this thing up. But you know, good media, good movies, no matter what without regard to genre or fiction or nonfiction or whatever, new things invite fans in, right? So we've had this such a big backlash of anti-fan behavior by studios, by media, by whatever whoever you want to blame. You want to blame alt-right talking heads on YouTube, okay. You want to blame Gamergate nerds, you want to blame the woke or whatever. I don't know what, either the lefties. What I'm kind of shitting on everybody here. But
Always blame the Spanish Inquisition, but
yeah,
I don't know.
but
That's just me.
without, yeah, but without regard to any of that, new media and things that land and stick with you invite people in. And this invites you in to see it as it is, and it invites you. I have no doubt that if we were to get like a one shot amazing 15-minute chance to interview uh, uh, to interview Danae, I would absolutely ask him some kind of question like, "Was your intent or purpose to invite people to pick up the book with what you made? Was that maybe a goal of what you were doing?" And I have no doubt that he would say yes, absolutely. He would encourage people to pick up the book and read it and find their own joy with it. That's the amazing thing too. There's always going to be more books that don't make it to the big screen, and that's okay by me. I have yet to see John Scalzi come to the big screen. I kind of don't. There's also Ian M. Banks. There's also friggin' there's all kinds that have yet to be made.
Mhm.
And some of the things that we've gotten nowadays are okay, middling at best, sucky at worst, avoidable at worst, I guess would be a better way to put it, positive way to put it. But come on in, join us, become a Dune fan. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Do you think that all these concepts, and we haven't even touched the base of like a college level class on like what the actual intention behind it all was. Anyway, we wouldn't even touch on that now, but this is just entertainment. Um,
I will say that the biggest disappointment for me, I know with Star Wars we had Baby Yoda that becomes a huge success, and
yeah, that's
with
fine.
Kong versus Godzilla, you have in the newest movie. I saw the preview of it before Dune Part Two.
Mm.
You're going to have Baby Kong in it, and he's going to become the big sensation, or at least they hope he will. And then
Are they doing that?
and with Dune Part Two,
Oh.
I'm hoping for a big franchise thing of baby Aaliyah, but I don't know if that's going to happen. Maybe she's just too creepy.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that
Mhm.
works. They think for what it was in the movie part two. While we're still
Fetuses
talking, I
aren't as cute
it
as
it
a baby.
well, you know what? It was a way. It was a way to
No,
express a very complicated idea to the storyline. I mean, it was. I mean, it's very trying to wrangle Frank Herbert ideas in a novel is very hard. But with that being said, I think we would probably go another 2 hours if I'm honest. But we'll cut it here. And like I said, I'll bring back our thing. Please, if you made it this far, go like, comment, subscribe, argue with us, pick a fight. Tell us what your favorite sci-fi franchise that has not made it to the big screen. And tell us why you never wanted to see it on the big screen. Because they might screw it up if you're true blue. But in any case, I've been Mike.
And I'm Tom.
And we'll see you soon.
Enjoy the spice.